Welcome back to Who Wears Your Pants. This is Kirsten Trammell, and I am here today with Who Let the Dogs Out? I'm just kidding. A man of many names, Dave Doorman. David, hippie grandpa, the voice of God is typically how I'm used to you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm afraid to talk now.
Oh, and also you're an artist. I guess another name could be Dreamwave Studio.
Yes, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks for coming on the show.
my pleasure.
And
It's a great night for it, too.
oh my God, yeah, the sunset.
Yeah, it's killer. I
So
can't
for
take
those
my
of
eyes
you
off
that-
it. I'm sorry.
I'm like, for those of you that can't see,
Yeah.
you can see the sunset. I can only see your
Okay.
face, so it's like I'm seeing it through your eyes.
How was that? Better?
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't look at the camera.
Oh my God.
Okay, what were we talking about, though? We were on something.
We
there
were
about-
inspiration.
Oh, yeah. Well, we've talked a little bit before, so you kind of know that I get inspiration from the ocean and just kind of everything around me, really.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we have nights like this, they're special, so it kind of gets, I don't know,
Yeah.
gets the creative juices flowing, and it just feels good,
And then you're like, why am I sitting here
Yeah, and then,
instead?
what'll happen quite often is I'll get home, and turn up the music in the studio and get nice and relaxed and get the canvas out and start picking some colors,
Ooh.
and then just kind of get into it. And
So do you think you would do that like tonight after you left here? After looking at this beautiful sky, you'd be like, yeah, I'm going to go paint.
it's very possible.
Oh.
I've had a pretty interesting day, and we were talking. This is really the first time I've done something like this.
Mm-hmm.
I've done a couple with Logan, but we're good friends, and I help out with these productions for his show and
Yeah.
other stuff. So yeah, it's a different experience. Totally talking to you, it's really cool though.
To be on the other side of the
It is.
wall.
Yeah, it's weird at first, but I can like it.
Yeah. Well, I found for me, it's like in the beginning, I'm like very aware of like everything around me,
Yeah.
like the lights and the headphones and all this stuff. And then usually, and I don't know if you notice this from like listening, but there's like a moment, like a few minutes in where I just forget
Mm-hmm.
what's going on. And then
Yeah.
you're just like with the person that you're spending time with.
Yeah.
But
I could see that because I'm finding myself look around, at all this stuff, because I see it from the other side, and now I'm sitting here and I'm like, wow, this is a pretty cool setup,
yeah.
And not that I'm giving us a plug or anything like that, but it is, and it is with this sunset tonight. This is what it's all about. This is what Logan dreams about having in this location.
Yeah.
So it's really tonight. It's inspirational for me.
Aw.
To go along with the rest of the day that I was having. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's funny because that was actually one of the things, like I know when we talked before, like that I wanted to ask you about, because I think that people find art, like they create art through so many different ways, and like where people find their inspiration is so different. So that was one of the things I was curious for you, especially since you do, like, as you said, abstract expressionism.
That's what they call it.
I feel very educated saying that. But yeah, so it's not like you're sitting there being like, oh, I'm going to paint a portrait of this person that I love. You're creating from a totally unique way. So how you find inspiration to create these interesting pieces of art, I was curious about.
Yeah, well, this is one of them that I was describing. But I've also been inspired by people, for different reasons, whether it was an interesting conversation or a beautiful person, man or woman, doesn't matter. And I don't just mean that physically, but just in general.
Like their personality, their energy, whatever it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the person. I judge people on who they are, not what they are.
It's like that movie Shallow Hal.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of, I guess, yeah.
And then Okay, this makes me think like if you've been, so let's say that you're inspired by somebody that you really care about, and you go to paint something. Have you ever, like, in essence, created portraits of them, but not in the way that we know that term to mean?
Well, some people believe that I've painted myself in a lot of paintings.
Oh.
Yeah. In quite a few paintings, I get reactions from people where they see different things. You know, images come out because of just the way the paint and the lines and everything. It's hard to explain because you know it's pretty far out stuff.
Yeah.
But I have some paintings that when you look at them a certain way and start to see it, you can't not see it.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Well, it's
and
actually,
I think you've seen a couple, haven't you?
oh yeah, like that one
Yeah.
time when I think I was with you and Logan, and then Reese came later, and we were sitting in your studio looking at. There's like two of them. One of them was like a fire. I don't remember what it was called, but there was fire in it, and it looked like the outline of a person. And you and Logan had talked about that.
Oh yeah.
And it was like once someone pointed out something, I was like, I cannot not see that that's what that is.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if you had seen that or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a pretty moving picture painting.
Yeah. And yeah, that whole story about that's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Because he had a dream and I painted and neither one of us knew about the other. And then he started telling me his dream and I said, you need to come over here.
And basically
and
you had
this.
painted his dream.
That's what he said, or vice versa. However it was, chronologically,
Yeah.
it was like that kind of thing. When he saw it, he's like, oh my God, that's my dream.
Do you feel that when it's happening?
Certain paintings, I get this, it gets emotional sometimes. For instance, that painting you're talking about, when I was done with that one was painted over several days at least. It was a long one.
Yeah.
And then when I was doing all that, and it started as experimenting with colors and different things, you know, like a lot. But I really got into it for whatever reasons, and it was really a lot of fun. But when I got to a point where, like, I could be standing there with paint on the brush, and that'll go, ooh, it's done, you know? You get that feeling like if I touch it again, I'm going to screw it up, you know?
Yeah.
And you don't want to do that. Although you can always fix a painting. It's just paint, right?
I'm like, I don't know. Can you? I maybe.
Well,
to a degree.
People like to say that, you know, there's no mistakes in painting and in art. You can always do it again, fix it, or create from the mistake. Or at least that's what I say.
Yeah.
A lot of my paintings, a lot of it's been created accidentally by experimentation in a sense, really. Like, wow, that works pretty cool. Because I didn't go to art school or anything like that. I just...
Yeah. When did you start doing this?
This abstract stuff?
Yeah, or just, I guess, when did your artistic journey begin?
Well, I've been asked that a few times recently, so I've been thinking about it. And when I think back, I guess I've kind of been that way all my life, even as a little kid. I've found some things that my mom had saved from when I was young, like some poems I had typed out on a piece of paper when I was 10 years old because I had put my name and age on it. Probably was for some school project, you know. And like 4 poems and other artwork that I'd done. And I remember doing that through school. But then as I got, you know, closer to high school and stuff, I was into sports. Baseball, football. So I was a big jock in high school. I was still interested in, you know, art and stuff like that. But I never really pursued it.
Yeah.
Much at all. Till I got much older.
So you basically, you refound it.
Yeah.
Or you reconnected with it.
Yeah. I started painting a little bit in the 80s as a kind of a hobby, therapy kind of thing. but nothing real serious, just kind of goofing around. Maybe one step above paint by numbers. I don't know.
You're like Rick Ross, or what is it, Rick Roll?
No, Bob Ross.
Bob Ross, yeah.
Happy trees and clouds and all that. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff. But anyhow, yeah, I didn't really start getting back into art until I came back here.
Yeah, to Oceanside.
To Oceanside, yeah. And I went and visited a friend in Arizona from where we had moved from. And she and some other girls that I worked with there at this Harley dealership, we got together and we did a paint night. And I'm like, all right, what am I going to paint? But okay, you know.
Was this like a wine and paint and someone instructs you kind of?
Yeah, it was at her house and they came over and we did that kind of thing just for something to do. It was fun. And so we painted. And I kind of had fun doing it. My painting looked like shit, really.
I'm sure it didn't look like shit.
Well, yeah, well, anyway, that's neither here nor there. But that kind of got me going. I'd already had my studio at my house started for photography. And then when I came back from that trip, I said, I'm going to get some paint and start painting again. And so I did. And mostly it was like, you know, waves and the beach and birds and trees, and, you know, that kind of landscape stuff.
Yeah.
Fun. Some of it was not too bad, I guess. I sold a few pieces. Oh. And, you know, I was doing that in conjunction with the photography to spend my time.
Yeah.
But, and then that studio just kind of evolved.
Yeah.
Into what it is now.
Which is incredible. And I think back when those things were happening, I mean, was there events in your life that you think like drew you to like need an outlet to express yourself? Or was it that you like, what do you think pulled that back in?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I've had a few things led me to it. First off, probably was my life and career before retirement. I don't even consider myself retired, but in some senses I am.
From your from one career.
From my other career, yeah. I was in law enforcement, and that took quite a while to get through all the crap you have to deal with mentally afterwards that I never even had any idea that I really needed to until certain things started happening, and I don't want to get into all that stuff. It's kind of boring and not necessary. But anyway, that was a big catalyst, I think. And that's when I started meeting people that would talk to me about things like PTSD and things like that, because they were using art as therapy for people. And I was showing my art at these places, and I started talking to some of these people, and they asked me how long I had been diagnosed with PTSD.
Oh my gosh, wow.
And I said, about 10 seconds, I guess.
Now you just diagnosed me.
So anyway, yeah. So the artist helped with that aspect. And then a little over 2 years ago, my mom passed away. And that really kicked things into high gear. I was already starting to do some of this abstract stuff, but after she passed, I guess it was just a way of coping. And I got into the zone, and I was just doing things and surfing, and it was all just evolving, and I was just kind of letting it go. Did a lot of meditating and that kind of thing. Yeah. And all this stuff started happening.
Why do you think that art is, like, in painting in particular, is such a good way to manage those things? I know art therapy is like a huge modality that people use for overcoming stuff, but why do you think that it's painting for you? Or do you even recognize, like, in the experience that you're working through things?
Sometimes. But when I really have a good time and when I feel that it can be used like therapy, is when you just really let it go. And honestly, I don't put a lot of thought into the paintings, in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
I pick my colors, the size of the canvas and kind of the mood I'm in, or whatever directs what's going to happen next.
Ooh.
And I just let it happen.
Yeah.
And sometimes it lasts for an hour, sometimes it lasts for 3 days.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like for working on one piece of art, you'll work on it over a period of 3 days or something like that.
Yeah, and depending on how I'm doing it, with style or technique, I'd have to let the paint dry or not. A lot of times I did wet and then let layers dry, do more. It's a whole thing. But your mind just gets focused. It's almost like an athlete getting into a zone,
Oh yeah, you're like you're in a sense of flow state.
Yeah, exactly. And I've done it as an athlete as well, and that's the best way I can kind of correlate it for people. But you just get in this flow and this zone, and if you can just get there and let it happen and let it go,
that's when it gets good.
And and then it's almost like out of body experience. And you asked about the painting. It's the physical movement, I think, especially with me. I like the music playing, so sometimes it's like a dance or a rock concert, and you're just letting it loose,
I'm like, can we watch you? Do you ever videotape yourself and like?
I think Logan has some secret videos of me. He might have snuck in on me a few times. I don't know. But I don't know if anybody's got any video of me really into it like that.
Yeah.
And you've seen my studio, paint flies.
Oh, it's so cool. I love it. It's like the raddest place to hang out. I'm like, I would live in here
thanks.
if I could.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it is. It's a nice place to hang out.
So what kind of music are you listening to? Like, does it matter your mood, or like you just like, what's your favorite? What's your go-to?
Well, my go-to is, I have to say it, Led Zeppelin.
Oh.
I go to Led Zeppelin because they have such a wide variety of music to listen to as well. You know? And a lot of it, there's some good lyrics in those songs. Mm-hmm. Those guys knew what they were doing, and it's still good stuff. So they're my go-to guys. And but I listen to everything from meditative music, real, even chanting kind of Om stuff. I painted to that kind of thing. I listened to a lot of music like that, painting that as well.
The Om music?
Yeah, real meditative kind of thing. But I also listen to like some thrash metal stuff too, painting that.
Well, like
going crazy.
Yeah, and I'm like, I guess for people that can't see.
I'm sorry.
Oh no, I know. I was like, oh yeah, no one can see that. I am purchasing collecting my first piece of art.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
From you, and I guess I'll tell this story of like how I saw this picture, because you had posted this painting on your social media, and I feel like I just always see your stuff on your feed all the time, and I saw that, and immediately, I don't know what happened or what came over me, but I just got the chills, and I became like very emotional.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I'm getting like chills right now.
It was really, I've like loved all of the pieces that you've shown, and I've had so much fun like looking at them and and just like the experience of sitting there and standing back and getting close and trying to find things, and you like feel different things. But I hadn't had an experience like that before with a piece of art.
Wow. That's really cool.
Yeah.
And what's really super cool about that is I've had other people have similar experiences and tell me things like that. And that's the coolest thing ever.
How does that feel for you?
It's very humbling and almost embarrassing for me. I mean, because I love it. I mean, that's why I started to show my paintings, was just to show them to people. And my mom told me, just show them. And they're going to look. Doesn't mean they have to like it, but they're going to look at it and they're going to know who did it, you know. Just show them. Who cares? And so I always had that in mind. And, people have these reactions just blow my mind. A lot of times it's the colors. Sometimes they can feel the emotions in it that they see that bring it out in them.
Yeah.
But it's the coolest thing. I feel very blessed to be able to do this, which some people can look at it and like, what the hell? But I do put thought into it, you know.
Yeah.
To make it come out a certain way, but I leave some room for the paint to work as well on a lot of them.
Interesting. Yeah. To like let the paint kind of do what it wants to do with you.
Yeah. You know, I incorporate different techniques. It's fun.
Yeah.
I just make shit up as I go.
I think that's what everybody does in everything.
But I think that's the best thing.
Yeah.
I really like that, and I've almost not educated myself on art stuff because I don't want to copy anybody or be accused of copying somebody's techniques or paintings or whatever. I do see stuff, you know, online. You can't help it, you know, but it's not like I study it or anything like that.
Yeah, that's
so I
actually
just like to get in my zone and do my thing. And I do lots of other stuff too. I sketch and oh God, you've seen my studio.
Yeah, but like it's working for you, I feel like.
Yeah.
And I wonder that too, if like sometimes people, they're very into something and then they start to educate themselves on it. And then it almost takes out like the openness or the creativity or whatever they would naturally do because they think they have to do it a certain way.
Yeah, they start to have expectations of certain results maybe too, of what they want to see or do or have. And then try to follow these books that they read and stuff. I don't need somebody else to tell me how to feel or do something that comes from the heart, you know. Excuse me?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. I don't mind hearing other people's stories and stuff, don't get me wrong. I'm not cold-hearted or anything like that, but I don't need to, you know, be told how to do it.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I was thinking about is because you were saying that you were totally into it when you were a kid. And I think most children are very artistic in some fashion, right? Like we all, like you color all the time. That's like a fundamental, at least when I was a kid and when you were a kid probably too, you know? And we kind of lose that as we grow up, whether it be because we like go in high school and like being an art kid is nerdy or who knows, and then you're like too serious to let yourself loose and be creative. And I can only imagine, this is like twofold, but you were in law enforcement. I mean, that's just like the complete opposite end of the spectrum of what I would envision like a creative person having a career as. And so like you're not probably like posting your paintings at your office. I don't know if you had an office, but you know, like that's a totally different world. So it makes me wonder how you coming back to it is so rare. And then like how do we can encourage other people to reconnect with like that artistic part of themselves, because it is so beautiful.
Well, to be quite honest, I probably got to a point in my life where I hit bottom for me. I went to a really dark place that was bad. And without going into that, we can spend hours just talking about that on a therapy session sometime.
I'm certain this is a little bit of a therapy chair and you're on the couch.
Yeah. But anyway, you know, so I was at a point like many people get to in their lives, unfortunately, where you get to a point where you're just like, fuck, now what, you know? And so I got to that point where it was like, it felt like I had nothing and nowhere to go and all this kind of crap. But you got to get over that, obviously. And so I got to a breaking point, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. And then I got on this really it sounds corny and cliche these days, but this life journey, this continuation of my life journey, and started to figure out who I was, because suddenly at this point I had no job. I had no my career was taken away. I had a shitty retirement from that because of the way it happened.
But you had an injury.
Yeah. It's a long story, but financially it wasn't really a cool thing.
Yeah.
But anyhow, all that aside, but I was at that point. So I had to figure it out, who I was and what I wanted to do, because everything was suddenly gone.
Yeah.
As far as financial income and stuff. And that just led different ways. Took a while getting over the injury issue and going through, all that kind of stuff. I don't know if you wanted to go into that, but
well, I guess, how did you, what things did you do to re-find yourself?
Well,
I think a lot of people have
a better way to look at it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have moments where they're that are breaking points in their life or whatever at varying levels, and so but then you're left with the question of who am I and how do I figure out who I am?
Right. Yeah, and I think that it's funny. I was thinking about this the other day because I think we go through these ups and downs in our lives periodically in different phases. All of us do. And we come to these new realizations of who we are and what's important to us. And I started meditating a lot, and I read some, meditative type books and things on the universe and all that, and getting in touch with things, because I've had a lot of experiences that I can't chalk up to just coincidences.
Yeah.
I really believe there's another level out there where we're all it's all energy. I don't know how it works yet at this moment, but I know it's there. If you did,
you probably wouldn't be sitting here.
I know. I'd be over there, but maybe I am, and I'm really directing what's going on now. Who knows? And we can get really weird about that. But
so you are the voice of God.
Yeah. So anyway, I got into that, getting into yourself and making myself a better person, because I've always been taking care of my family and doing all that, and it's all been great. But that's a lot of pressure and stress on somebody. I wouldn't wish it on anyone, and lots of people go through it every day. So supporting their families and stuff. So once I got that all together, and I really needed to take care of myself, because physically I was really going downhill. And so the combination of getting the body together and the mind together, or the spirit and mind, body, spirit connection, it just all kind of happened, and then it just got on the fast track, after a while, and
kind of snowballs a little bit once you get started, the momentum.
Sometimes you got to ask the universe to slow it down a little bit. I got it. It just starts dumping on you, and you can't take it all.
Yeah.
Let me figure it out first, right?
Oh, yeah. I feel like sometimes I'm throwing snow at myself to make a bigger ball when I don't need to be.
Yeah, really.
But do you ever think that we ever figure out who we truly are? Or do you think, because sometimes I wonder if we will forever be discovering ourselves anew, if you will. Yeah. Constantly. I feel like who I was a month ago isn't who I am today, and I don't really think that that's ever gonna stop.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
I agree. It's a constant evolution, I believe. And different levels. We just go through different levels of life and time periods, and we learn more things. And if we're here to learn things, we're on this earth to learn things, I don't know what that purpose is exactly. I think I do have an idea of what that secret is,
Oh,
but
do tell.
It's different for everybody, I think. But, it's all about being a good person and loving one another and, all that good stuff. And it's real, because when you really get into it and start living your life that way, and I've seen a lot of people around me that truly live that way and are good examples, it snowballs, like you said.
Yeah.
But you got to watch out because you don't want to get run over by that snowball, you know?
Oh my gosh. I'm like, what? Okay, so because you're talking about like basically seasons of life, right?
Yeah.
What has been thus far your favorite season?
Well, interesting you asked that question too, because I just had a birthday.
Yeah. Happy birthday.
Saturday. Yeah. Thank you. So at the age that I'm at now, it's just natural to sit back in my yard and contemplate things like you just said. And my life's pretty much broken down into decades, really. You know, once I hit my 20s and 30s, and for most of my half of my 40s, I guess, I was in law enforcement. You know, raising a family, doing all that, and then 40s and 50s. The rest of my 40s were shit. Because I was going through a lot of,
Like, so
surgeries and therapies and medication and all that kind of crap. But then 50s, I started turning myself around. Yeah. So these phases I went through, and you learn and you have these realizations at different levels. And then once you start kind of getting it, I guess, I don't know. I really don't know. I don't get it. The more you get, the more you don't.
The more you know, the more you realize you don't know.
That's right. Exactly. That's it. Isn't that a Zen thing?
I have no idea.
I don't know.
Probably.
But yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
So wait, what was your favorite one? Do you think that your
My favorite
this past
phase?
decade or
Right now. Yeah. And I'm 62.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I know.
62.
Before we were rolling, I was like, yeah, like when I was 18, saying like that when I was 18, I used to think that being 30 was like, that's like old people. That's like you're deep in corporate America. You have children, you have a dog, you have a house, like you're on your way out, like your life's over basically. And now that I am 31, I'm like, oh, I feel like I'm cooler than I was when I was 18, but I'm not old. Yeah. Or, like it's all relatives, I think too. And like,
it's all
oh yeah. And so it's just interesting to think about like what happens over time.
Yeah, it is. It's cool because I'm moving while I'm talking. Logan's gonna get mad at me.
I'm melting into the couch.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool as I've gone through these decades, especially the last couple.
Yeah.
It's funny to think, that makes me born in the 50s, 1959.
Oh.
My granddaughters, they're so funny. They consider me and their mom too, because she was born in 1984. That we were from the 1900s. That's what now she's 10, okay? And she goes, yeah, you guys were born in the 1900s. And we're all looking, and I was cracking up. I'm like, oh my God, she's right.
Oh, I guess, but I for some reason I'm thinking like 1900, but no, but 1900s is.
Yeah.
Oh
right?
My gosh.
Because that's what we grew up thinking, 1900s as like 1905, 1910, right?
Yeah.
But she considers that the whole century, 1900s. You guys are from the 1900s. Like, yeah, I guess we are.
Yeah. That's wild.
Yeah, isn't it? It's weird to think.
Yeah.
And so I think about all that kind of stuff and what I've been fortunate to see and experience in my life. But now I'm really digging everything. I'm fortunate to live where I'm at and the people I'm around and do what I do.
Yeah.
And just enjoy life, which is what it's all about. And people can make that happen anywhere because it comes from within, really. And things just happen.
I remember reading, I've like a couple of studies, but one of them was talking about how, well, it's two things. There was like a study done about how like the salary that people have, like once it hits a certain point, happiness like scales don't exceed, they only get, in most cases, they lower. It's like once you, like, I forget what it was, like the salary range, like $80,000, $70,000, something like that. Like you, like your income doesn't actually change your happiness after that point. And then there was a documentary that was all about how, like, some of the happiest people in the world are in some of, like, the most isolated and, like, underdeveloped places in the world.
Yeah.
And so if everyone's seeking joy and happiness in so many ways, we're looking for it in the wrong places.
Yeah. I was watching a video of a guy, and he's, I guess some people consider him some kind of guru or something like that, and religious,
some woke
spiritual guy.
Dude,
yeah, but he's like from the 60s or something. At least that's when he got started. And I'm sorry, but I don't remember his name. It was an interesting video, but he lives very simply out in the middle of nowhere. I don't even know what country he was in. And just looks like he lives off the land. He was shown in this video where he eats from and everything, and, you know, just living like that. Very peaceful, spiritual man, and happy as can be. Happy as can be.
It's like, makes me think of the Dalai Lama. That guy always seems so happy.
That kind of thing. Yeah. You know, it again, I've said it before, but it kind of sounds kind of cliche and corny because people talk about it in that way sometimes. But, you know, there's a lot to that, being spiritual and living the good life, because, well, works.
Yeah. Do you find that comes into your art? Like that spiritual aspect of yourself?
Yeah, I think so. I didn't think about it at first, because when I got going on these bigger canvases, I was really, I got into it and I just kept going. I had some people look at one or two of the first ones I did, and they're like, wow. Not to brag or anything, but I was sitting there with them because I couldn't take my eyes off it. I didn't quite understand what I did, to be honest. I knew it was kind of cool looking.
Yeah.
But I'd never seen anything like it personally.
Yeah.
And either had my friend who knew art or knows art. He's an artist, and he said, what did he say to me? He said, you know, I'm not really into this kind of abstract art. It's not my thing. He says, but I can't stop looking at it.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, I can't stop looking at it. And he starts pointing all this stuff out. I'm like, really? He goes, whatever you're doing, just keep doing it. So I did. And I really let it go.
Yeah.
And I'm just starting to think back on this stuff because I was in that zone up until just recently.
Yeah.
And not that I'm not still painting and stuff, but I mean, I was just like, that's all I did. I lost count after 100.
You got a lot after 100?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Well, they're scattered around too, Kirsten, now.
True.
Not just in there.
Yeah.
So there's a lot in the studio. I think there's probably about 50 in there now. A couple new ones too.
Yeah. Well, I think some of the art, like I'm thinking like this one right here, that one, I think some of them are just very hypnotizing. It's almost like, there's something that captivates you, and then you can almost kind of like, maybe almost through the art, put yourself into a state of meditation.
Thank you. Yeah. A lot of them, like I was saying, that I do them to music and my moods and stuff. So there's quite a few that are done more at a peaceful tone rather than a rock and roll heavy metal kind of stuff, which are great fun to paint too. But a lot of them were done in a very peaceful mode and almost a meditation, not almost, a meditation in a sense for me while I was painting. A lot of those end up being in the bluer shades. A lot of blue paintings.
Interesting.
And yeah. I guess I think, well, I like I've always liked the color blue. And then the ocean and the water and all that sky and clouds. All that goofy stuff.
That just reminded me. I remember when we talked earlier, you were saying that, I think it was when you lived up in the mountains, or maybe before you lived in the mountains, you started painting mountain portraits. Yeah. Then you moved up to the mountains. Then when you were living in the mountains, you had begun to paint ocean settings. And then you moved here to Oceanside. And it's like you're almost manifesting some of that into your life.
Yeah, that's a true story. I remember telling you that, and I did do that. It's kind of weird.
So you're just to start painting dollar signs next.
Yeah, that's okay.
I'm kidding.
No, yeah, I did do that, and thinking the way I do now about how things happen in your life and all that. Yeah.
Do you ever wonder?
A sign of something.
If your art is inspired by your life, or is your life inspired by your art?
I like to, let's see, I want to say this right. I like to think that my art is inspired by me. I'm inspired to create something, and these things end up being the creation. So that I inspire the art, but I hope that my art inspires other people, either in their life, an emotion, a feeling, whatever. So, yeah, I like to think of it that way.
That's really cool. It's what a gift to be able to do that.
Thank you, and I think so too.
Yeah.
I thank God every day.
Yeah. This is like a concept that's kind of been new to me, but I think a lot of us hold ourselves back from sharing some of our gifts with the world because for whatever reason, whether we don't want to come across boastful or we don't think that it's good or whatever, the endless list of reasons why people don't do it. But it's the concept of, if you don't share it, it's almost like you're doing a disservice to other people. And imagine if you painted all of these paintings and you never showed them to anybody, then no one could ever connect with them, which clearly they have.
Yeah, I've had people say that to me because I'm like, what am I gonna do with all this stuff? But people really enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I just hope to keep showing more and more.
So I guess let's say that there's someone out there in the world and they're an artist and they don't show anybody, whatever it is, whether it's paintings or music or drawing or writing, or who knows, whatever the modality may be. How would you inspire them to start to share? Yeah.
Well, while you were asking that question, I was thinking about myself.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Oh, good.
But
this is all about you.
I have a lot of artwork that nobody's ever seen, in sketchbooks or in folders or in other areas of that studio hidden away. And I often think what people are going to think when they find all this stuff, because some of it's pretty wild. And but it's not stuff that I would really show. I don't know.
Yeah.
But maybe to certain people might see it. I don't know. But to get someone else inspired, if they're doing something on a regular basis, some kind of artwork, and whether it's painting or sculpting or pottery or whatever, get out there and show it. Somebody's gonna dig it.
Yeah.
I can remember people talking to me. I started showing my paintings and photographs at Artist Alley here in Oceanside. Every Saturday we'd go there and set up a pop-up tent, I would, with the other artists. And I had a lot of people tell me that kind of thing. When I was new, they were very receptive and not friendly and everything, and then when they saw my work, I got quite a few compliments, and they're like, "Oh, that's cool that you're out here. What made you come out?" All of a sudden, where have you been showing your stuff? I'm like, "It's the first day."
You're like, this was my first time.
My first time, my very first day, and they're like, "Wow." So they were very inspirational and encouraged me to continue that. My mom was the one who encouraged me to show my stuff. And when she passed, that very next week, I went to Artist Alley and set up shop the very next week.
Wow.
And so she got behind, she's like, show people. She used to show people because she had all kinds of stuff at her. I can't even imagine what her house looks like. And I haven't gone through a lot of stuff because my dad's still here. And he doesn't like people coming rummage around the house, so I haven't been there much. Anyway, I would just tell people, just get out there and show it.
Yeah.
Whatever way you can and you want to. I have friends that are artists that just go around on the streets and set up these days in different areas.
Oh.
Yeah, empty lots or on the corner or down at the beach. I mean, where we live, oh my God, there's artists everywhere.
Yeah. It's almost like you're saying that someone's going to like it. Like there is, I don't know what the saying is, but like, whatever floats your boat, there are think about all of the fetishes in the world. Someone's bound to like whatever it is that you're making.
Yeah. If you, that's one reason why I said earlier, I don't look into art and things because somebody's done stuff like this somewhere. You can't replicate it. There's no way to duplicate it.
Like you couldn't even recreate.
I couldn't recreate it. Yeah. No. But I lost my train of thought there. But yeah, there's so much stuff out there. If you think you have a new thing, just Google it. 10 million other people have already doing it and doing videos and probably doing it better than you even thought you could do it ever.
But who cares?
Do it anyway.
Yeah.
Because those other 10 million people did it too. So.
Yeah, and that's, I feel like this is teaching me something because there are so many times where I go down these rabbit holes of like researching things. And then by doing that, it almost makes you feel like, oh, I shouldn't pursue this because everyone else is already doing it. Yeah. But like you're saying, like, I kind of view that I think almost everything that we do in life is art in some way. I think, like setting up the studio is like an art form.
Absolutely.
Right? Like cooking is an art. I don't know. There's just so many things that like are different styles of art. Even, it's funny, we were talking about sports earlier and I'll never forget my dad. I'm getting really sidetracked, but my dad, my senior year of high school, he wrote me this note before like my last swim meet. And he basically said that, his brother had told him once that sports is it's an artistic expression of your body, and when you go to compete, that's a celebration of like who you are. And like that is like what art is. And I never forgot. I'm like, that's a really cool way to look at basically everything in life. I totally forgot where I was going with this. I don't know. You're right on there, and your dad is correct. Oh yeah, I think that's a good way to look at things. Really. Yeah, and but what I was getting at was like going down these rabbit holes of searching for things, and then you don't want to do it, but in reality, like you can make this painting, and someone else can make the attempt to make the same painting. You're gonna make it totally differently.
Right.
So like only you can do it your way, even if other people are already doing it.
That's right. Exactly. That's my point. And yeah, absolutely. You and I can get 2 blank canvases, the same amount of paint, same color of paint, same brushes, same tools, whatever you want to use, and turn our backs to each other, and an hour later turn around and see who's got what, right?
Oh yeah, it's like what I've gone to some of those like girly wine paint nights, and like there's someone who's literally up there instructing you on how to paint it. And at the end I turn to my friends and I'm like, are we painting the same thing? Like what is happening here? I mean, none are incorrect. I guess that's the cool thing about art. There's no rules.
There's no rules. That's the number one rule.
Do you think that's why you got into it as a law enforcement officer, following the rules, and then you're like, art has no rules? I don't know.
Well, I'm sure some therapist could find some truth in that, but it's a way that I've found to really express how I feel and just be totally in my own world, I guess, for whatever period of time. And like I said, the last year and a half, 2 years has been pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm still in it, but the pace is slowed a little bit, that's all.
Well, you might just be in a different season of your artistic experience right now.
Yeah, that I'm learning every day. There's other events in my life too that tend to take my attention away from it, but that's okay. That's all part of it.
Yeah.
It's all part of it.
I wonder too if like you fill up.
Yeah.
And then you need maybe like not to purge, but you need to like at some point express in some way, and then that's when all of the creation like starts over again, and you're like back in the cycle.
Yeah, exactly. That's probably really true for me, because when I get going, and just get into it, and that's pretty much my focus. Whatever it is, whether it's the painting or surfing. When I got really back into that, I was like surfing twice a day and whatever, or all day in the summer, that kind of stuff. But so I guess I have that kind of personality, if you will. I find it very personal, and it, it's a great way to just kind of lose yourself, and then in the process find yourself. Yeah.
I think that is so true.
Yeah.
Yeah. I find that the more that we can live in these states of flow, if as you said, or in the zone or whatever it is, that like when you come out of it, that's when like I think it feels so good to be in that state, and then when you come out of it, you're like, wow, for me, that's usually when I like realize things about myself or the world or
and then you try to do everything you can to get back to that state, that flow state again, that zone. Yeah.
So it becomes a practice. Yeah. So do your granddaughters, you must be the coolest grandfather. I mean, hippie grandpa. I know they're into art and things like that. So
very much.
Yeah. That must be cool to be able to have you in your life, for them to have you in your life.
Well, thank you for saying that. And they're getting old enough to, I have 3 granddaughters. They're 10, 7, and 1 and a half, I guess she would be. Yeah. And all girls in my life. I have 2 daughters, 3 granddaughters.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I had quite a birthday weekend the last couple of days.
A lot of feminine energy just coming at you.
Yep, everybody was here. So it was cool. And we had a great time. But what I was saying was the 10 and 7-year-old, they're old enough now where they can express themselves perfectly. And sometimes too perfectly, if you know what I mean, with kids, right?
I love that they're so honest.
Isn't it great?
Yes.
Yeah, I do too. And I just sat around all weekend watching these people, these humans do things at different ages. And a friend came over with a young baby the same age as my youngest granddaughter, Maddie. She's the 1.5 years, Madeline. And they played and interacted. And it was all of us that were there in my patio were just watching. It was like watching a movie. It was so entertaining to watch. It was so cool. And those 2 little ones were communicating in a way. Neither one of them really talks yet. There's I think Maddie babbles a little more than the other little girl, but they were communicating. And they both do sign language.
Oh, yeah.
Both their moms are teaching them sign language, so they kind of do sign language at each other. And I'm like, whoa, this is wild. That is. And then they get in each other's face every once in a while. They're doing that dominant thing. Like, rah. I'm like, just let them go. And they were fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're both very independent little children for 1.5. It was wild.
Isn't it kind of like actually, we were talking about this before we started rolling, about how we communicate in ways that, I mean, obviously body language and things like that, but like they're communicating and they haven't established an emotional intelligence or in a sense, or like learned how to
that's
talk.
What we think.
Or totally. Yeah. We probably have it when we're little and we just turn it off or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you can communicate like that. And it's
it was
cool.
So wild. Logan was over too, and he was really tripping on it.
He was chilling there with them, probably.
He was watching it too, and he's like, "Wow, this is just crazy! Watching these little things move around." And evolve,
God.
I think is the way he put it.
Yeah.
And it was. And my whole weekend was like that. Took the older ones taught them how to surf, and they dug that. They got right into it.
Oh my gosh.
Aubrey, my 7-year-old granddaughter, she had the best luck, and she rode a bunch of little waves.
Yeah.
And she's hooked, man. Oh yeah.
Hell yeah.
She was even at a point where like that wave's not big enough. I'm like,
You're like, okay.
wait a minute here. I'm
Oh
in
my
waist
God.
deep water, and she's telling me to not push her in,
Yeah.
Oh, it's not big enough. So.
She's like, stop pushing me into waves. I can do it.
Oh, they're both already ready to just paddle out with me. Next time you bring your board, Pap, and we'll just paddle out and surf.
Oh, that's awesome.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah. How fun.
So I had that kind of weekend.
What a beautiful life.
I know. I don't want to think about it too much. I get all emotional because it's been a really fantastic weekend. And it's a Tuesday now. I mean, past weekend.
Yeah.
But it was really, it was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, I'm thinking, is there anything that you would like to share before I ask my final question?
Oh gosh, are we done already?
I don't know. Are we?
I don't know.
You're like, I'm really kind of digging the being on the other side.
Yeah, well, we can talk.
Oh, I didn't even look at the clock, and I.
Thank you, sir.
Look at that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, to answer your question, as far as the art goes, and life advice on that, if that's what you're looking for.
Tell us, hippie grandpa. Tell us.
I would just, number one, I'd tell people to just chill out. Just take a deep breath and chill out, and worry about your own life, and be happy there, and everything else will take care of itself. Leave everybody else alone. They all got their problems. That'd be number one advice.
Just surrender.
Yeah, surrender. Exactly. Very good,
Oh my
Kirsten.
gosh.
A nice plug there.
That is, for
But-
everybody, that is the name of the painting that I have just acquired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that,
Mm-hmm.
that's a big one. Just give it up and do your thing. And then find your thing, and whatever you're doing, have a good time doing it, and just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it. Who cares? I see people going out to surf at all ages, and they're all having fun. I don't care if they're just on the little, ankle biter waves, just barely floating on the board. They're having fun.
Yeah.
Who cares? Paint, sculpt, build cars, build recording studios.
So awesome.
Just do it, right?
I think that
And don't be afraid.
it's like in order to do that, you have to not care what other people think.
Right.
You really do.
Yeah, don't be afraid of anything.
Yeah.
Just figure out what you want to do it.
And don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, because if you're here to do it and worry about it, everything's cool. Stop worrying. It'll work it out.
Yeah.
It'll all work it.
Well, you're probably one of the coolest people in Oceanside.
Oh,
So.
man. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's very kind of you to say.
I feel like that's what everything that you just said is kind of like a lifestyle that I think hopefully people can aspire to embody a little bit within themselves.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I feel very blessed to be living the life I'm living, and being able to, now to impart some maybe advice or help to others. I guess I'm getting to that age, huh? Or I'm getting a little wisdom, maybe. I still feel like I'm 18.
Oh, I think that
Especially earlier when we were fucking with Logan, I just wanted it to go like.
My grandma is 94 years old.
Oh.
And she said, she's like, I still feel like I'm 20. Like, she's like, in my mind, I'm 20. Like, I'm still that person.
Yeah.
It never stops.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a story.
Yes, please.
Sorry.
I know you just got so excited.
I met a woman down at the Strand a few years ago now.
Like in Coronado?
No, right down here.
Oh, okay.
Right down at the end of Wisconsin Street Avenue. Excuse me. I'll try to make it short.
Make it as long as you want.
Thanks. I was down by the rocks there, and it was a weekday, a time of year where there's not a lot of people, around sunset and whatnot. And it was later in the afternoon, but not sunset yet. And I saw this nice little lady sitting on her walker, those kind that turn around, and she was there by herself, it appeared to me at the time. So I just walked up and said hi. I said, "Isn't it oh, and there were dolphins out there." That's what it was. I was watching dolphins. I was up on the rocks. And I said to her, "Aren't those dolphins cool?" And she turned to me. She said, "I'm just lucky to be able to see this beautiful ocean at 104. And I stopped, and she kind of had this twinkle, She wears really thick glasses, but you could see her eyes clearly, and she has this little twinkle in her eye, and she looks at me, and I'm like, "Did you just kind of tell me you're 104 years old?" She's like, "Yeah, I am. I just came from the eye doctor, so I'm having a little trouble focusing. They put some stuff in her eye, that kind of thing." So we started talking. We struck up a conversation. Her name's Louise. She's a beautiful woman. And she's 107 now. And she'll be 108, I believe. And if I'm off a number or two, I apologize ahead of time, Louise, because I know she'll listen if I tell her about this. September 1st is her birthday. Amazing woman with an amazing story who comes down to Oceanside. She lives in Oceanside, but she has a lady friend who drives her around a couple of days a week to appointments for her hair or whatever, and just cruise the Strand. They get lunch and cruise the Strand or go to the harbor or different areas around town, and Carlsbad as well, I think. And actually, they go all over the place, really. And I met the woman that helped her friend, his name Mary. So Mary and Louise are good friends of mine now, and also part of my collector family.
Oh,
bless them! They're so beautiful. Louise is. We tease, she's my girlfriend. She just, she'll grab me and hold on to me, and she doesn't want to let go. She's strong lady. She gets out and walks the Strand and stuff.
That is incredible.
Yeah, they called her Strider. That's her nickname through life, because she was always a walker, and she could walk, and very active. Yeah, very active swimmer and everything. And she said, "Just never stop. Just keep doing what you like doing. Just do it. Don't talk about it. Do it. Don't think about it. Do it."
Yeah. That's
So
really cool.
I mean, here she is at that age, and she's still doing it. So I still live by that. All right.
If you're going to take advice from somebody, take it from a woman who's 108.
I asked her. I took that opportunity to ask. I was like, "This is a blessing to talk to someone
We should have
of
her
this
on
age."
the show.
She's been in here.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh.
She's been in here because she and Mary, they're fans of my art as well. Bless them. And they wanted to see this place. And it was about a year ago now that they were here, actually.
Yeah.
And, gave her a Copo bottle.
Aw.
Yeah.
So we never really, I don't think we ever get old.
No, our bodies wear out. I just think of them as vehicles while we're here.
Yeah.
Because I believe in the soul, like we talked about, everlasting soul. There's another dimension, there's another level, there's another something. How it works, like we said, who knows, right? But it's there. It's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like we could have a trippy conversation about all of that.
Yeah, we could. And we might later on,
to
too.
dive into the depths of that.
Yeah.
Maybe the voice of God would chime in. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know.
Or the temporary one, I suppose.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Well, okay.
Yeah.
Dave.
Yes, ma'am.
Who wears your pants?
Oh, man. Because I've listened to, like you said, almost all of your podcasts.
You are the one and only, I think, who has every single one.
I know you asked this question, so obviously, I mean, I had to think about it, right? But, and I did. I literally thought about this question this afternoon while I was eating my lunch down at the beach.
Oh, how funny.
And I've always worn my own pants, you know. I think maybe a couple of people have tried.
Oh.
But not successfully, obviously.
Yeah.
No, I've always gone my way. I've always been very independent and wearing my own pants for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Just made me think of the Fleetwood Mac song.
Uh-oh.
Do you know which one I'm talking about? Go Your Own Way?
Go your own way,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I have nothing against Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah. I love it. Well, thank you so much for being here. And if anyone is interested in checking out your studio or your art, where can they find you?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I forgot about that question.
Oh.
I'm not hard to find. My Instagram at Dreamwave Studio is my main Instagram page. And you can find all that other stuff, Hippie Grandpa and everything, through that. But that's the best way, and you can always direct message me there if you're interested, if you're local or passing through Oceanside and want to check things out. You know, give me a message or an email.
Yeah. And your art is starting to show up.
Oh,
I
yeah.
saw the juice bar down the street. You're all over here. You're everywhere.
Yeah, I've been fortunate. Things just kind of happen. I've met some very nice people that have introduced me to other very nice people, and fortunately they like my art too. So yeah, I'm in. I guess I have to give those people a shout out, huh?
Oh.
I mean, they're showing my art at their businesses. There's the Edge Ink down in Solana Beach, my friend Reese's tattoo shop, salon, studio. What do they call them these days? Reese, I'm sorry.
A studio?
I think studio, yeah. But her place is different than any tattoo shop you'd ever seen. Number one, because of the way she's got it laid out, plus there's a lot of my paintings in there. So I have to say thank you to Reese. She's a beautiful person and does that for me. And all those paintings are for sale except for the ones Reese has purchased. And then there's a chiropractors in town at Origin Chiropractic, Kirsten and Corey. And they're collectors as well, and they also show several pieces of my art in their office. Cool. And then, as you mentioned, Roots Craft Juice here, just down the street. They're the newest, and there's 2 paintings in there. And they're also purchased a painting, which I've been very fortunate. That was cool. That caught me off guard. I just walked in one day, and I forget what was going on. I think he saw something online, kind of like you, and I took it down there. He's like, "Oh, I gotta have that."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Really?"
You're like, "Oh,
okay." Okay. That's kind of the way it works.
That's. I feel like when it works like that, that's when you know you're doing it right.
I guess because I'm not really trying. I'm a terrible salesman, really.
We all have.
Do you
our
like
strengths.
that? Yeah, take it. People are like, "Stop," you know. Yeah. I'm like, whatever, but. Yeah, the best way to get a hold of me is probably through Instagram and an email at Dreamwave Studio, Art Studio, Gmail. I don't even remember it, to tell you the truth. It's all connected on Instagram these days.
We'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah. But I do answer all that stuff when people do send me stuff.
Cool.
Yeah, thanks.
Well,
Kirsten.
thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I know you're always on the other side, so it's really fun to be able to sit down and spend time with you, and you just have this really cool soul and energy, and it's nice to be able to be a part of that and share it with other people. So thank you.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of Who Wears Your Pants. Please do me a favor and hit subscribe. Leave me a review or a comment so that I can turn this disaster of a show into something great. I need you. No, seriously, I do. And if you're feeling really invigorated, Check out my corner of the interwebs at kirstentrammell.com, or let's get really social on the gram at Kirsten__Trammell, because as a ginger, I need all the friends I can get. Peace and love, my homies. I will see you next time.